never give them anything. You better make them work. 'Cause idle hands and best intentions, that's a white man's perk.
Well, that was just a little bit of Rob Hinkel's gold-winning song in the Freedom Songs category, Uneven. And I'm here with Rob. Welcome, Rob, and with Kelly Diamond.
Jay, Kelly, thanks for having me.
Hello.
Yeah. Hello.
North
Yeah.
Carolina, right? You're down the
Yeah.
hill
She's
on
in
the
the
signal.
she's
So
in that
take a second.
Carolina. She give us that.
I'm down in North Carolina.
Could you give us a hi, y'all?
Hi,
so we know it's
y'all.
you.
Oh,
Well, welcome and thank you for doing this. My goodness, how do you take time out of your schedule to do anything at all? Like when you go to fit something in, are there seams busting in your life whenever you go to fit even an
kinda. Very
interview in?
careful scheduling. When you texted me or you gave me a call the other day and said, when you want to do this interview, I definitely had to go consult my calendar and I had to make sure all the check marks were on. Oh, I need to see Kristen's calendar. I need to see the bandmates' calendar. I need to make sure that nothing else is going on in there. And I'm glad that we could take a moment here. I'm in between two sound checks. I just did a sound check with the fabulous Bill Starks,
Oh,
which
I'm
took
such a fan.
a little bit of back and forth, and we finally got things up and running. And his piano is like beautifully panned, and you got the bass, and you got the thing, and the stuff, and the what you call it. And I'm really excited about that. And then in another half an hour, I get to sound check with a Cora, and that's another thing. But I don't know that we've got the mic set up over there, so I'm doing a lot of like listening remotely. And this, where I get to just babble and not fiddle with any buttons, is like a relaxation. So I've always got time for something that's relaxing,
This is your downtime. Well,
Yeah.
really congratulations on this song. I was so impressed with it when I first heard it, because I think I first heard it maybe at your open mic. I'm not sure, but I think that's where I heard it first.
Probably.
And then heard it as the and it won the Freedom Song our first year doing this category. I know the reasons I think it won, but talk to me a little bit about how you approached writing this.
Well, before I talk about writing it, I almost want to talk about why I entered it. Um, I think we've had the conversation before that I don't really enter a lot of contests anymore. I don't really like the concept of a contest. And yet, when Songwriters Association of Washington and Mid-Atlantic Song Contest came out with this category of a freedom song, I felt like, well, this is something that's been swirling around in my head a lot. And if there's anything in which they're highlighting not just contemporary folk music or, a genre, but an actual conceptualized, we are highlighting the idea of songs written around the concept of freedom and how important that is to us. I wanted to be a part of that, so I wanted to sort of support that. Just hell, even with my couple bucks of the entry fee, I wanted to throw that in there. I don't. So I was sort of like almost. I was really flattered that then I got to win it.
Yeah.
Uneven, the song. I write a lot from the middle, and I feel like I know that I'm writing an honest song when I'm pissing off people on both sides. And Uneven, however, is maybe a much more a much more honest song because I'm letting off my filters and saying, it doesn't matter that people that people aren't turned off in the first couple seconds anymore. I really want to just say what I have to say.
Yeah.
And so I wrote a song about how uneven our country has been recently, how uneven racial justice has been recently. And I wrote the song off kilter so that it's shifting back and forth between where the ends of the verses hit and things like that, making it very hard for the rest of the band. I don't know. Rowan got it naturally. Everyone else was like, wait, but where's this? Is my cello, actually.
Yeah.
But it came together, and I thought it was an important enough song to sort of work out. And it was very, very much inspired, especially once the big yellow Black Lives Matter sign got painted down in DC. And I was thinking about, like, for all the crap that we are doing right now, and for all the big statements we've been making, both on the left and the right, and the angry rhetoric, this is the one thing that if I was looking down at the ISS with from the ISS with a decent telescope, that's probably the one thing that's changed that I can see from orbit. This is
Yeah.
the one sign that you can see from space. And I got really fascinated or interested in that as a concept. And the beginning of the song came from some spectacularly racist sentiments that I was raised with. Um,
Is that like the
and
perspective of a cop when you say never let them, make them answer first? It seems like
parts of that, parts of that, um, or, never always shortchange the poor.
yeah,
Or always make sure that yeah, a power
yeah.
game being structured that way. And I'm not going to call out family members and specifics or anything like that, but
Well, we
there were
brought
these
them here, and they're
ideas.
here with you now.
There were these things that I was raised with. Oh, well, you never let them do that. Oh, don't let them. You better make them do this
Yeah,
because them.
them. Yeah,
And so that found its way. It's funny. I've been having this conversation with Chords of Courage. They would like me to cover a particular song, and I don't. Frankly, I don't have time right now to make it happen. Speaking of schedules bursting at the
yes,
seams, but it's an uncomfortable song written in the first person perspective. And though Uneven's first verse is written as something that's coming out of my mouth, it's not quite first person. It's not I. It's
yeah,
directions being given. And that's important and different enough for me to feel like no one's going to mistake me for this person, and yet it's jarring enough that when I say that first line, and people talk about getting chills when I say it, which is like, wow, that's the best compliment ever, I guess.
yeah.
You know,
No, it's
that's
powerful. Open. I
a
never
white
give them
man's
time to
perk.
think. It's a great. What a great open line.
Thank you. And then when you get to the first chorus of like, that's a white man's perk. I want that delivered in this very like,
Yeah,
I, I'm very certain that I wouldn't be in the same world, the same position that I would be if I wasn't a white male. I'm very aware of I the word privilege is so laden, but I know very much that there are opportunities there that are open to us from the way we look. There are different opportunities given to us for how we age, hair color or eye color or skin color or gender, all these things open some things, close some other things, and the white male metric has certainly opened more things than it has closed. I grew up in PG County. I was not aware that I thought that what was a minority was very skewed. I thought that was an outdated term. And then, I grew out of PG County and then moved up to Baltimore. I still didn't really grasp until we toured across the country and I really understood. Oh, the rest of the
yours is
country
the
doesn't look like
exceptional
this.
experience.
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. The rest of the country doesn't look like this. And one of not entirely to go entirely off topic, away from the song, but into touring and traveling and crossing across this amazing nation and all the people that exist in it. It's very easy for us in an urban blue state to be like, what the hell just happened with this election? How can 70 million people not think like I do? Crossing the country and meeting other people, and again, another word, another laden word, integrating with other people is really, really important to realize that not everyone thinks like we do. Not everyone
Yeah.
thinks like you do. And yet they're not bad people.
Amuses people sometimes since we run the contest that I hate the whole aspect of song contest. It's about competing. You're better, you're worse, and stuff like that. And especially since opinions
But
vary.
you do such a
Yeah.
fantastic job of reaching out to the people who I know you joked about it earlier when we were talking about reaching out to the losers, but reaching out to the people who didn't win, and that is a
Yeah.
different semantic, and it's an important different way of
No. Yeah.
saying it, I guess,
Hmm.
um, because man, these things can be brutal on your self worth and self importance.
one of the things that I'm really I'm interested in how you're dealing with, and also I'm rooting for one side is how do you keep that, because you are a person people turn to and say, well, you know what to do. Why don't you run this? Why don't you do this over here? Why don't you do this over here? And that has to be sometimes a drain on your ability to focus on your art. And how do you enforce? Where do you find the balance there?
I'm struggling with it. Honestly, I need to learn better to say no and not be angry about that. I feel that my brain is still wired with that existential threat of not making enough money, which was a large part of my life for a long time, and but hasn't been for years. I've been we've been doing fine as performers and working with instituted musical traditions or a number of other foundations and things like that, where or the steady gigs of even the open mics and things like that. There are a lot of things that I've found a way to monetize that have made my life, if not comfortable, then at least stable.
Yeah,
And well, no, my life's pretty comfortable.
comfortable.
I'd
Yeah,
like to turn up the heat a little bit, maybe, but
I'm digging it. Yeah.
and
How are you saying? Can you, are you able to say yes to your art enough? I know because I mean,
that's the
if the
tension.
opportunities were all, hey, come play the Super Bowl, come come play these 2,000 seat auditorium, and here's the upfront money, then you're saying yes to it a lot would not worry me, but
No,
it would worry me if you're saying yes to a whole bunch of things and then suddenly you're only writing 3 songs a year and
that worries me. That worries.
One of the things, Rob, you're really pretty famous, at least in the local area
Oh man, you
for
should have stopped it. You're really pretty.
infamous.
you have really handled the pandemic so well and so professionally, and so you've been a lot more forward thinking than a lot of musicians who have been streaming at I can't even think of when is live music going to come back, but we all look to you, and you have a really successful, great virtual open mic that tons of people watch and perform at and things like that. So I wanted to ask a little bit about just reflect briefly on, that just how that experience has been. And also where does all this streaming environment and all that technology land in the future? So 6 months from now, a year from now, how much of it will stay with us and how much of it will go back to how things were?
I was very fortunate in that way that I don't want to say no. At the very beginning of COVID and the end of February, the beginning of March, when it was like that was looming, and then think the first week of March, it became very evident that what I was doing a lot of in the open mic scene and playing small bars, and handing my microphone off to the next person and whatever else was going to be a really bad idea in the storm that was coming. I shut everything down. I canceled the open mics, even though I was still in my full flu protocol, where my open mics are something where I make a lot of a point of, I'm wiping this down. I'm wiping the surface down. Please, if you have a cold, don't come in. Blah blah blah. I mean, that's my every winter ever. Anyway, so March is coming around, and obviously this is going to be even a bigger deal. Shut everything down. I contact my venues and say, hey man, I'm sorry. And of course, like I said, we deal with a vast swath of the country. We had a tour going out to California and back set up, and some venues were saying, "Oh yeah, I've heard about that. We should probably worry about that. Let's talk about a date next year." And other venues who were saying, "What? You mean the Democratic hoax from China?" And neither here nor there, trying to figure out like how do I deal with going back to venues that had that kind of contempt for my concern? Neither here nor there. So at the very beginning, I'm canceling all the gigs, and I'm kind of worried about that. But like I said, I've been doing better in the last couple of years. I don't have to worry about that just yet. Money is going to freeze up for a little while. Okay, crap. Fortunately, some people from T-Volve, where I was running my regular Monday night open mic, and a couple of the people from the T-Volve community really, really pushed to say, well, you got to have an open mic, right? We got to be able to figure out a way we can do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so me and Rowan Corbett and Dave Benham, who's a Native American flute player who has been a regular at the open mic, and our friend Jimmy Stewart, who you were just talking about with compression,
Hmm.
we really sort of created this little ring where we were experimenting with a lot of different things and trying to figure out how are we going to make an open mic run and keep this community functioning and keep ourselves sane if we're going to be locked down for, a couple months. That technology and that problem solving, and especially that problem solving when it came to the idea that people were coming at this from all sorts of different angles with all sorts of different gear and things like that, then became something visible that I could then say to instituted musical traditions, for example, hey, we want to keep shows running. I've got a way forward on that. Or Focus Music, they want to keep shows running. Here's a way forward on that. And I think there were a couple of people, I don't want to call myself an innovator, but a couple problem solvers that said, this has to go forward. You can't just wait it out. It's not viable to wait it out. And so that became very visible to other people. John Platt up in New York has been hiring me to do his On Your Radar. A number of record labels have gotten me doing things. I'm doing this really cool thing called Beyonce Mass. And you want to talk
Right.
about this white guy at the back end of a black woman's religious experience. We come from entirely different worlds, and yet we are integrated through this technology and through the problem solving of making this go out to her community. This has been a really amazing thing in which I'm connecting with these people from all across the world. And that does not go away the moment we get our second vaccine. Or, I'm sorry, it does not go away the second that 3 weeks passes after I get my second vaccine and we're still masking in our venues because 40% of the country is like, vaccines are where the microchips get in. Or whatever that crap is. Anyways, wear your damn mask and get the shot when you can.
Nice.
Neither here nor there. It doesn't go away. If nothing else, even if everyone feels safe going out to their local bar to play again, I've learned a couple things about the kind of environments that I don't want to be in any longer. And I think plenty of people have realized that, man, sometimes sitting on my couch and watching live music ain't a bad thing. And
Yeah,
on top of
exactly.
that, I've been touring. I toured for 15 years at least all across the country regularly. I have fans that I haven't seen in years and years and years and years and years because it's not always cost effective to tour through a small town in New Mexico. But we've got fans in a small town in New Mexico. We've got fans in Alaska. We've got fans in Europe. We've got fans in Australia. We're not getting out there because 5 people like us in Australia. That's not going to cover a plane ticket. But they are all regulars in my weekly live stream. And we are
Yeah.
reconnected in a way that we haven't. And I can't throw that away. I can't throw those fans back out of our this wonderful tent that we've built just because I can go play my little, a bar gig again. Realistically, I'm hoping this replaces the bar gigs that are so often kind of frankly abusive. That
Yeah.
being said,
Would
if
you?
you're looking to book a
I
bar
guess.
gig,
To,
iliami.com. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
oh no. Would you? But would you? So would you prefer to be doing your open mic virtually and not go back to the live open mics if you could?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because you
I am
just hinted at that you
Yeah,
might
it's
that might be what you were saying.
that's a
So I
hard
thought,
one.
well with the open mics. I'm not sure. I'm absolutely not sure. Asterisk on that. With gigging, there are gigs that I wouldn't that assuming I can keep rolling with some sort of with an income stream and everything like that with the virtual gigs, either broadening the spread of a physical face-to-face gig with a virtual component or playing the virtual gigs. I mean, hell, Jimmy Stewart's shown that he can do it from a campground if it's wired correctly.
yeah,
The idea that I can do this from anywhere, I don't necessarily. When you're touring, you try to fill all 7. Well, we try to take a day off. We try to fill 6 days a week with gigs, and sometimes you pick up ones where you're like, Bob's Country Bunker. I hear they have both kinds of music. And the
and
deal's not
Western.
real. Exactly. And some of those deals aren't so hot. And if I can turn that down and do a show in our host's living room and broadcast it out to 200 of our nearest and dearest, that's way more valuable and better on my spirit and better on my gear than filling it with something I don't want. I love touring. I love traveling. I miss highways. When we have our open mic, the idea that Dougie, who has a UPS shift on Monday nights and hasn't been able to join the open mic for years since he took that shift. Well, he can tune in from his truck and
I
play a
love that.
gig
Yeah.
while they're loading the back end of his truck. And the idea that technology has enabled his able to rejoin our community is huge. The idea that, but I tear up when I watch his highway roll by because I miss touring so much. I miss traveling. I miss the face to face. I miss exploring new things. There are levels of accessibility that a physical venue will have that an online open mic, at least anytime soon, is not going to have. And the idea that I've cut out anyone who can't afford a decent internet connection and can't afford a decent device to get their music to the masses is antithetical to why I run and believe in open mics.
Yeah.
So that's the caveat to how much I love the online form, is that means I've dropped part of the community, and that's a problem. Also, we're
Yeah.
losing the ability to play with one another, jam with one another. You're talking about, some people got Jamulus up and running. Well, I've struggled with Jamulus for months and haven't gotten it to function, or Jack Trip or whatever. And that cross-pollination is really, really, really important. And that's something that we can enable in live venues that we can't enable
Yeah.
anytime soon easily.
And congratulations again. I I I really do think you're one of the really important people in show business, and I know you probably hate to hear that said out loud in public, but it's true. And I'm really grateful for everything you do for music and for musicians.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks, Kelly.
But that does
But
not preclude the fact that you should spend most of your time concentrating on your music and your writing.
yes, Jay.
Get to work. Because that for me. That's what I hope for and wish for. If I had a wish for Rob Hinkle and for Illy Amy, it'd be that you're so busy with opportunities that you have to start saying no to these other things, and that you do get to prosper inside what you really love doing. And that's my wish for you.
That is a good wish, and I think we're headed in the right direction. So we're hopefully on course for making your wishes come true.
All right.
Great.
That sounds
Thank
like
you.
the end of a story. Rob Hinkle, Kelly Diamond, thank you so much.
That's some stuff.
Thank you so much.
That's a white man's work. We got a different brand of martyr. People down on their knees. They're not praying for redemption. They're praying we'll let them